Hi everyone, it's Niamh here and welcome to my art journaling channel. Today we're going to be having a look at how you create lettering on your page. So this is a really quick magazine journal page I'm putting together using some of the pieces from the Disillusions or Diarively collage collective. I'm just adding in some stamped images as well to create some funky hair on the page too. So I really enjoy combining collage images and stamped images together to make something really unique, and I love these stripy little curls because they just make fantastic hair. One of the things about doing magazine collages is you kind of need to know which pieces to glue down first and which pieces to glue down last. So it's always good to have some glue that's repositionable for a few minutes while you sort of slip things in behind and so on. One of the things I love to do on magazine collage pieces is to do some extra doodling. And I find paint pens are the best way to do this. So you can use the patterns that are already on the page. You can use colours from your background. Basically, you can do anything you fancy because they're supposed to be weird, wacky and kooky. So the more you add in, the better to make it look really unique. I use a combination of thin paint pens and thicker paint pens. And I always use paint pens to do my lettering as well. So the thin paint pen I use is either both Posca paint pens. The thin one I use is PC1M and it's a bullet tip. The thicker pens I use is a PC5M, and again that's a bullet tip. The reason why I use a bullet tip over the pin type thin pens is because every pin type pen I've ever owned stops working within half an hour of me using it. They just do not like mixed media because the metal barrel of the pin actually scrapes up the paint and clogs it and makes stuff not come out. So that might just be my experience with it, but I've found every single pin tip pen I have got has stopped working. I've had to throw them out, whereas every bullet tip one I've used to death. So even though it's called a bullet type, with a fine one you do actually get really fine lines with it. So don't be deceived by it. Don't think, oh no, it's going to be like a round tip on it. It really isn't. You get a really nice fine tip on it. So paint pens are really, really handy. I use Posca because that's what I can get. I know there are plenty of other paint pens around that probably are just exactly the same and maybe even better, so just use what you're used to. I know a lot of people also use, Signo pens and so on to do their writing, so use what works for you. In what we're doing today, I suppose, though, we're kind of concentrating on how to do the fonts and writing. So this is a bit of a bonus, putting this together, which is lots of fun. You can see I can have fun playing around with it. So when I do quotes on a page, most of the time it gets taken up by actually searching for what I'm going to be writing about. And to find my quotes, I tend to go to Pinterest a lot, and I use some keywords to sort of search in what I want to have. So for this one, it was about, resentment or looking backwards type thing. I can't remember what the keywords it was that I was looking for. So I've got don't trip over what is behind you. So the first thing I did was write out with quite a broad tip pen. It's actually usually broader than I usually write in. And you notice I wrote in the paint pen first of all. Now the reason for that is I'm working, or I usually work on acrylic paint, which is already heat set, so it's permanent. So by writing over with the paint pen, which again is an acrylic paint, when it's wet, if I make a mistake, I can use a wet wipe and actually just rub it off and not have any marks on it. If I write out with pencil, I would find that I'd make a dent in the page, and that really bugs me. So I find just writing with paint pen is pretty good. And what I do is just write out in my normal handwriting to begin with to do my spacing. You saw I used a slightly thinner pen to get the word trip in there because I thought I didn't have as much space. Once I've done that, now I'm going back with my paint pen again and I'm extending my letters and putting like little flourishes on them and widening out the letters so they fit into the space. You'll notice I've also written over my doll. I don't mind writing into the borders of my pages or writing over the imagery on the page, especially if the quote itself is what I think is going to be most important on the page. So you need to sort of think about what the focus is for you. So for this page, while I really love the magazine collage, and she probably is the focus, for me the most important bit was the writing on it, so I didn't mind if that overlapped. So to make my page, my letters stick out, I'm actually going around the entire letter with my white fine pen. I'm going slightly within the black line so you can sort of see that white really stand out. It's not getting lost into the background. So usually if you've watched my channel for a while, you'll notice I sort of outline in different ways. Most of the time I just do a simple highlight around my letters and I go on the left hand side and down below. But sometimes I want to make, as in this page, I want to make the writing the focus. So I actually spend a little bit more time on my font. So once I've outlined all my letters and my punctuation, I'm going to go back and add some extra colour and dots to it. Also quickly going in with my Stabilo oil pencil because I'm just going to darken up the shadows and pop that figure out from the background. So the Stabilo oil pencil is a water soluble pencil. So I've just scribbled it out and then I'm just water activating it to get that shadow popping out from the background. So once I've done my outlining of my letters, I'm going in and sort of making my keys letters. And I'm just doing that by putting some dots of another colour in. And where I've got larger spaces, I'm making larger dots. Where I've got smaller spaces, I'm putting smaller dots. So you can see that sort of in the O. I've got a mix of larger and smaller dots. I've used a colour that I've used in my background as well, so it sort of blends in with the background page. You could do that, or you could do something completely the opposite if you wanted to. It's totally up to you what colours you choose. I just chose to do the pink because I've used it on my doll and I've used it in the background as well, so just having something that ties the page together. So it's lots of fun doing this, and it's a great way to relax and not have to think about much, because putting dots on a page isn't that difficult, but you can have fun playing around with it. Now the D at the very top I did slightly differently to everything else because I started just doing a normal highlight on it, which I didn't really like, so I'll go back at some stage and fix that up. The other thing that I'm doing on this side is I wanted to write a little bit about that quote. So again, this is a technique I use an awful lot. You can see it on the other page as well, where I draw some squiggly lines and I just write in block letters across it. So I like writing this way because it's really quick and easy. It's readable, but to someone sort of just quickly glancing at the page, it looks like pattern in the background. So you actually have to stop and kind of look at the page to read what's written there. Really scribbly writing I don't think would fit in on this page, so that's why I like doing this sort of text on the page as well. So that's my page, that's how I do my fonts, that's how I practice getting my spacing. I just jump in with a paint pen and use a wet wipe if it doesn't quite work. So here on a close-up you can sort of see what I was talking about with the dots varying sizes and how I've moved the white pen slightly within the black border so it makes the white really pop on the page. So I hope you have a go at adding your own font and your own quotes to your pages. It's lots of fun, and if you ever get stuck, there are lots and lots of books for kids about how to do fancy writing for projects and so on. So go and have a look at those and I'm sure you'll come up with some great ideas. Until next time, bye for now.